Have you ever looked at someone else's light and felt your own dim in comparison? We live in a world that rewards brightness. The louder, the flashier, the more adored, the better. But somewhere beneath that glow hides a quiet ache. What if I'm not enough? This story isn't about success or failure. It's about the moment you realize that chasing the wrong light can make you lose your own. Because not every light leads you home. And sometimes, the dimmest one is the truest. This is the story of a butterfly, brilliant, radiant, admired, who envied a plain gray moth. Every night, the butterfly watched the moth disappear into the dark, guided only by a faint, invisible glow. The butterfly couldn't understand. Why would anyone choose the night when the sun exists? But what the butterfly would soon learn is that the brightest things often burn out first, and that peace doesn't come from being seen, but from knowing where you're going. This single story holds a truth that may forever change how you see your own reflection. By day, the butterfly was everything the garden admired. Its wings caught sunlight like stained glass, shimmering gold and blue as it drifted from one flower to another. Wherever it landed, whispers followed. "Look how beautiful it is," they said. "Look how perfect." The butterfly smiled, because that was what it was supposed to do. Yet behind that fragile smile, a question pulsed louder with each passing day. If they stopped looking, would I still exist? When the sun began to set, the garden emptied. The flowers closed, the applause faded. The butterfly would hover alone under the fading orange sky, watching the light disappear, terrified of what came next. That's when it noticed the moth. Gray, unremarkable, flying toward the dark. The butterfly tilted its head, puzzled. Why would it leave the beauty of day for the emptiness of night? Night after night, it watched the same strange ritual, the moth lifting into the darkness, tracing a path toward something unseen. Sometimes a soft glimmer flickered ahead of it, like a star calling its name. The butterfly tried to follow once, but the moment the last ray of sunlight vanished, panic gripped its chest. It turned back toward the garden lights, clinging to the glow of lanterns and human windows. "Light," it whispered. "I just need more light." But the more it chased, the dimmer it felt. The applause of the day no longer filled the hollow growing inside. Then came the storm. Wind tore through the valley. The trees bent, the flowers broke. The butterfly fought to keep its wings open, but they were made for calm air and admiration, not survival. When the sky cleared, the garden was silent. Mud covered the petals. The lanterns had gone out. For the first time, the butterfly saw itself reflected in a puddle. Wings tattered, colors dulled, beauty fading. And beyond that reflection, through the mist, it saw a faint glow moving deeper into the dark. The moth. Still flying, still glowing. The butterfly's heart clenched. It wasn't jealousy this time. It was something sharper, an ache born from truth. Because in the darkest night, when no one was watching, the moth was alive. And for the first time, the butterfly wondered if it had ever truly been. That night, the butterfly could no longer bear the silence. The air still smelled of rain, thick and heavy, as it left the ruined garden and drifted toward the forest edge. Every step felt wrong. The world looked different in the dark, shapes without color, sounds without names. It followed the faint glow it had seen before. Through branches slick with water, over stones that gleamed like glass, it moved until it found a clearing lit by a small firefly's pulse and a voice. "You shouldn't be here," said the voice. The butterfly turned. On a low branch sat an owl, feathers silver gray, eyes deep as mirrors. Its gaze was calm, not unkind. "I was following the light," the butterfly whispered. "Ah," the owl said, "most creatures do. Few ever ask where it leads." The butterfly lowered its wings. "I have spent my life chasing brightness. The louder the light, the safer I felt. But now, I don't know what's real anymore." The owl blinked slowly. "Then you're closer to truth than you think." It spread one wing toward the horizon, where faint sparks shimmered between trees. "The moths," it said, "they follow a different kind of light, one you cannot see unless you're willing to lose what blinds you." The butterfly tilted its head. "Lose what blinds me?" The owl nodded. "The need to be seen, the fear of being unseen. They are both cages." The words hung in the damp air. The butterfly thought of its reflection, the garden, the applause, the way its wings once shimmered under the sun. The thought of letting that go felt like dying. The owl spoke again, softly this time. "Not every light is meant for you. Some are traps. Some are guides. Learn which is which, and you will never lose your way, no matter how dark it gets." The butterfly trembled. "But how do I know the difference?" The owl's eyes glowed faintly. "Follow the light that doesn't need an audience." For a long moment, neither spoke. The forest hummed with the quiet rhythm of life returning after the storm. Then the butterfly took a breath, deeper than any it had ever taken, and said, "I'll try." The owl gave a small nod. "Then you're already halfway there." As the butterfly lifted off, the moon broke through the clouds. Its light wasn't blinding or grand, just steady, like a promise, waiting to be believed. The first night was the hardest. Every instinct screamed to return to the garden, to the colors, to the warmth, to the eyes that once adored it. But the butterfly stayed in the forest, wings trembling in the chill. It tried to follow the moonlight, as the owl had said, yet the forest was a maze of shadows. Nothing glowed the way it expected. Every few moments it doubted itself. "Maybe I was never meant for this kind of darkness," it thought. But then, through the hush of leaves, it heard a faint flutter. A moth passed quietly beside it, leaving behind a trail of silvery dust that shimmered like starlight. The butterfly followed. No applause, no spotlight, just the sound of wind and its own heartbeat. Hours passed, or maybe lifetimes. The butterfly began to notice things it never had before. The scent of moss after rain, the cool rhythm of night air, the hum of crickets weaving unseen songs. Slowly, fear softened into stillness. And there, in that stillness, it saw it. A distant glow, pale but unwavering, rising beyond the tree line. It wasn't the sun, it wasn't fire, it was the moon, casting light without asking for attention. The butterfly lifted higher, its tattered wings catching that quiet glow. And for the first time, it didn't feel lesser than the moth. It felt whole. Because some lights aren't meant to be chased, they're meant to be followed. We live in a world where the lights never go out. Fame, success, social media, achievements, all teaching us that our worth exists only when seen. We chase the next glow, the next applause, the next set of eyes that make us feel alive. But in doing so, we forget the simplest truth. Not every light leads you home. The butterfly represents that part of us that craves recognition. It wants to be beautiful for someone. It wants its flight to be admired, its wings to be noticed. There's nothing wrong with wanting to be seen, until the need for it becomes the only reason we fly. The moth, on the other hand, moves through the dark guided by something unseen, a deeper awareness, a quiet compass. It doesn't shine, it follows, and that's what makes it free. In career, we often play the butterfly, working harder not for purpose but for praise. We dress up our days in color, we post, we perform, we glow. But the moment the applause fades, we find ourselves asking, who am I without it? True mastery isn't built under spotlights. It's built in the quiet hours, when no one's watching, and you're still showing up. That's moth energy. In relationships, comparison works like poison. You scroll through others' happiness, their vacations, their smiling faces, and the more you look, the dimmer your own life seems. But light doesn't exist to compete. The moth doesn't envy the butterfly. It simply keeps moving toward what feels true. The moment you stop comparing, you begin seeing. In self-worth, we confuse visibility with value. The butterfly thought its colors defined it, until the storm stripped them away. That's when it finally saw itself not as decoration, but as being. The same is true for us. You are not your resume, your followers, or your reflection in someone else's eyes. You are the quiet light that stays when everything else burns out. The owl's words carry a lesson for every soul chasing validation. Not every light is meant for you. Some are traps, some are guides. How do you tell the difference? Simple. If the light makes you restless, it's a trap. If it makes you peaceful, it's a guide. Peace doesn't come from being brighter than others. It comes from knowing where you belong. Think of the moments when you felt unseen, when your work went unnoticed, your kindness unappreciated, your effort ignored. Those moments didn't make you smaller, they made you real. The moth's glow isn't visible to everyone, only to those who've walked through darkness long enough to recognize it. The butterfly learned that brightness fades, but truth doesn't. And maybe that's the lesson for us all. You don't have to be dazzling. You don't have to prove your light to anyone. You only have to follow the one that's already inside you. So the next time you feel lost, stop chasing what sparkles. Be still. Listen. Somewhere in the quiet, there's a faint, steady glow calling your name, guiding you not toward admiration, but toward peace. Follow that, because the world doesn't need another bright light. It needs more steady ones. So now, I'll ask you this. What light have you been chasing? And is it truly yours? Maybe it's the approval of others. Maybe it's the idea of who you should be. Or maybe, like the butterfly, you've been flying so hard toward brightness that you forgot what calm feels like. Tonight, let this story be your pause. Write down one thing, just one, that you've been chasing for validation. Then ask yourself, does it bring peace or just noise? If it's peace you seek, then you already know the answer. Start walking, not toward what shines, but toward what stays. Because the truest light never blinds, it simply guides. And when you find it, that quiet inner glow, you'll realize you were never lost at all. If this story spoke to you, share it with someone who needs a reminder that their light is enough. And if you're ready to live with calm, with purpose, and with truth, stay with us. Like, comment, subscribe. Keep walking your own path. The world needs your kind of light.